So in this video I'm going to go through a few musical cliches and then just explain how you can use quoting in your improvisation. So the best way to learn how to play music and how to improvise is to listen to other musicians and then steal some of their ideas. Now when that happens enough, you end up with musical cliches. Now they work quite well in an improvisation because they produce a little bit of relief in and of themselves, and they introduce a bit of a humorous element into your improvisation. So I'm going to go over 5 different musical cliches which you can use. All of them are outros, so little licks that you can insert at the end of your improvisation to finish it off. And all of them are really well known, you've heard all of them a million times, but putting them into your solo right at the end can sort of bring a smile to your listener's face and make it a sort of bit more interesting and humorous. Alright, so here we go. The first one is this. Right, so you've obviously heard that one a million times, and that one is played as follows. C, G, G flat, G, G sharp, G, B, C. And for the last 2 notes you can insert the G7 chord with the B on top and the C with the C on top. Right, so as you're improvising you can throw in that lick at the very end and sort of create a little bit of a humorous effect at the end of your solo. So something like this. Cool, the next cliche outro I'm going to show you goes like this. Right, so it's a classic blues outro and it goes like this. G, E, G, G flat, E flat, G flat, F, D, F, E, and C. Then you can tremolo those if you like. So again, insert that at the end of your improvisation, can sound cool. The next musical cliche is the Take the A Train outro, which goes like this. So that was C, E, F, F sharp, G, A, B, C, C at the end. And you just have to get the timing right. So listen back to this a couple times, but again, I'm sure you've heard this a million times as well. Cool, so the next one is just a variation on the last lick, and it's just a straight scale run using that same sort of rhythm. So it's just straight up the C major scale, finishing on the C down there. So again, and the last one I'm going to show you is the classic Count Basie ending riff, which goes like this. Cool, so that's a nice little riff, and you play it as follows. First A, F, C, then A, E flat, C, then A, E, C, and the C down the bottom. So or something like that. So inserting these little musical cliches can again make your listener smile, insert a bit of a humorous effect, and bring it back down to sort of something that the listener is comfortable with and knows and has heard a million times, thus it being a cliche, and can be a good resolution to your solo. Now, quoting is designed to have a similar effect. It's also supposed to be a little bit humorous. It's essentially just superimposing a different melody over an existing chord progression. So let's take the chord progression from Fly Me to the Moon. Just that part, so that's just a cycle of fifths chord progression. So let's take that same exact chord progression and superimpose a completely unrelated melody over the top. So something like this. So that was Twinkle Twinkle superimposed over the chord progression of Fly Me to the Moon. Now nursery rhymes are really great for quoting because everybody knows them and they're quite simple, so they're quite easy to superimpose over most chord progressions. And if you insert that somewhere in the middle of your improvisation, it can sound quite amusing and funny. So I started improvising, inserted just the first part of Twinkle Twinkle, and then back into improvising. So it provides a bit of comic relief in the middle of your solo, especially if it's sort of a pretty hardcore jazz solo with a lot of wrong notes, a lot of tension, a lot of resolutions. It can provide quite an amusing relief. Now you don't even have to play it in the key that you're in, because it's such a recognizable melody. You can use wrong notes to play it, so something like this. So that was still Twinkle Twinkle, but displaced one semitone, so I was playing it from the from the C sharp. Right, and that was mostly wrong notes because we're in the key of A minor, and I was playing mostly on the black notes. So that sounded a bit funky, a bit strange, but because it's such a well-known melody, it kind of works, and it, as well as being sort of comic and providing a little bit of relief, it still creates tension because you're using the wrong notes. So there's a bit of a sort of juxtaposition there, which is quite interesting. So that's a nursery rhyme, but depending on what audience you're playing for, you can use other well-known melodies. Like if you are playing for an audience that's relatively well acquainted with jazz, you can play another jazz melody over that same chord progression. So something like this. So that was the melody of So What, a really, really famous classic jazz standard that every jazz musician knows, superimposed over the chord progression of Fly Me to the Moon. So if you're playing for an audience that knows and understands jazz and you're improvising and you throw that in, they'll also find that rather amusing and funny because it sounds rather wacky, still kind of fits, but it's recognizable and memorable. Cool, so that's all I really wanted to cover in this video. So in summary, I suppose, make sure you do use musical cliches and quoting in your improvisation, because it does create a bit of a relief and is quite amusing and fun to play and to listen to. And end of the day, that's what you want to be for the listener. You want them to enjoy listening to you. This is a good way to do it. Cool, see you guys.